Right now on Denver 7 News at 5 o'clock, coronavirus cases are on the rise once again across Colorado, and it's no surprise to health experts.
So there's been a lot of parties and a lot of gatherings, I think, that have been going on that are probably perpetuating some of this spread.
The steps we can all take now as we head into summer to slow the spread.
Stunning testimony from a Capitol Hill police officer calling what happened on January 6th carnage and chaos.
I couldn't believe my eyes. I was slipping in people's blood.
We're breaking down more testimony and newly released video as the committee prepares to hold another hearing Monday morning.
Staying cool and safe with temperatures expected to hit the 90s. We have some reminders before you splash into the weekend. Finally, it feels like pool and lake weather outside, but we want that water to be fun, not a scary place this summer. Thanks for joining us. Happy Friday. I'm Brian Sanders.
And I'm Jessica Crawford. A little bit earlier this week, Stacy, it was like Wednesday. It was almost too hot at the pool, and it seems like we're moving back into that.
Right, we really are. And temperatures have been close to 80 the last couple of days, but now we're into the 90s and we're going to stay there going into the weekend. So yesterday we hit 90 for an afternoon high. Today we'll be around 94 degrees here in Denver. We'll have 90s all along the Front Range I-25 corridor and up into northeastern Colorado. If you're looking to beat the heat, head up into the high country. Temperatures will be in the 70s there. 94 degrees today, mostly sunny skies for us. Our average afternoon high is only 82. We're getting closer and closer to those record afternoon highs, but our current temperatures in the 50s here for the Front Range and the Eastern Plains, 30s and 40s for the high country, and 60s out west. We'll talk more about how hot it's going to get this weekend in just a few minutes.
And mentioning that fog out to the east, it is limiting visibility for us right now, and you can see that out here not too far from Burlington, east of Lyman, and you see the very thick fog, and it obviously is going to be a visibility problem for us to or from Kansas out to the east. Take a look at the drive that we have across Metro Denver. It looks okay for the most part. Yesterday we had a really nasty semi-fire that happened on the eastbound side of I-70. This is pictures from yesterday that happened where you see the tractor was, they disabled the tractor from the trailer and let the trailer just burn up, and you can see how massive the fire was. This is what it looks like right now on that eastbound side, so you can see that we still have the center and right lane blocked. One lane is getting through there. Traffic is so light that it's not going to delay you by more than maybe 20 or 30 seconds, but we still have that one lane blocked out there, but no travel time delays for the moment.
Jason, thank you. The Avs are back on the ice to practice for the Stanley Cup final, and we are happy to see one player make a comeback. Goalie Darcy Kuemper returned to practice. The team says he's 100% recovered from that upper body injury that kept him out of the last round.
As the city of Denver gets ready to welcome all the hockey fans downtown and host the Stanley Cup final, COVID cases are on the rise again. Say it ain't so. The CDC says every county across the metro has a high transmission rate right now. Denver 7's Colette Bordelon joins us live because obviously this is not what we want to hear, especially as temperatures warm up again too.
I never want to hear this, Brian. School's out, summer's basically here. There have been parties and gatherings, so this increase isn't a total surprise for people in the healthcare world. At this point, the ebb and flow of the virus is something, honestly, all of us have learned to expect. It's unclear if the Denver Department of Public Health and Environment will implement a mask mandate for the city, but UC Health recommends them in large crowds, especially if you're indoors. And as we've said before, being vaccinated and boosted decreases your chance of getting very sick. Doctors say these measures, more than 2 years into the pandemic, are to ensure we don't overwhelm our healthcare systems like we've seen in the past.
We are seeing an increase in hospitalizations, and so it's sort of ticking up slowly. And so it's not like it was at the peak of December, January, when it was exploding. We're not even probably a fifth of the way there, but it's definitely rising.
In the Stanley Cup final, obviously on Denver's mind as far as what's next on the calendar. Ball Arena tells us they're working with local government and league leaders to keep up with health and safety guidelines. Plus, they say there are more cleaning protocols in place. Live in the newsroom, Colette Bordelon, Denver 7.
All right, thank you, Colette. The FDA Advisory Committee is also meeting Tuesday and Wednesday to talk about COVID vaccines for kids under 5. Versions from Pfizer and Moderna still need federal approval. If both the FDA and the CDC give their okays, then vaccinations could start as soon as June 21st.
The second round of hearings on the January 6th attack on the Capitol are set for Monday at 8 a.m. our time. Last night in prime time, the committee's co-chair called the attack a culmination of an attempted coup by former President Donald Trump and his allies. He accused them of spreading lies and threatening American democracy. ABC's Faith Abube has highlights from the historic hearing.
For nearly 2 hours in prime time, the bipartisan House Select Committee investigating the January 6 Capitol attack used dramatic video and witness testimony, placing former President Trump at the center of a violent and failed conspiracy.
Donald Trump, the President of the United States, spurred a mob of domestic enemies of the Constitution to march down the Capitol and subvert American democracy.
The panel describing the January 6 riot as a culmination of a brazen attempt at a coup.
Donald Trump oversaw and coordinated a sophisticated 7-part plan to overturn the presidential election.
Vice Chair Republican Liz Cheney describing how a month after Trump lost the November 2020 election, his former National Security Advisor Michael Flynn, advisor Rudy Giuliani, and attorney Sidney Powell met at the White House over how to use the military to seize voting machines. Even though testimony by those in Trump's inner circle, including daughter Ivanka Trump, then Attorney General Bill Barr, and campaign advisor Jason Miller, made clear Trump was told he lost the election.
The idea of saying the election was stolen and putting out this stuff, which I told the president was
The January 6 panel accusing Trump of energizing far-right groups like the Proud Boys and Oath Keepers, along with thousands of his supporters to storm the U.S. Capitol. Capitol Police Officer Caroline Edwards, seen on this newly released video, knocked out by rioters, testifying that it was a war scene.
I couldn't believe my eyes. I was slipping in people's blood. It was carnage. It was chaos.
And aware of the rioters' chance to hang Mike Pence, the president responded with this sentiment, quote, "Maybe our supporters have the right idea."
Dozens of Coloradans are facing charges in connection with January 6th. The charges range from low-level misdemeanors for those who entered the Capitol to felony seditious conspiracy charges against far-right extremists. We'll continue following the January 6th hearings on our website, thedenverchannel.com, and the Denver 7 Plus mobile app.
Well, with temperatures heating up across the Front Range this weekend, we're all looking forward to getting in the water and for ways to stay cool. For some of us, that means heading out to our state's beautiful lakes or rivers or our neighborhood pools. Denver 7's Veronica Acosta is along Clear Creek in Golden this morning, and officials just want us to be careful while we're out on the water.
That's really the message that these officials are trying to drive home. You need to be careful if you are around any kind of body of water. This year, our state saw snow later than it usually does, and that means those water levels, if you go to places like Clear Creek, they're likely going to spike. They're going to get a little bit higher, and that's something that you do really need to be mindful of and careful around. That water also going to move a lot faster. There's going to be debris in it as well. Now, it also means colder water. That's why officials recommend that if you are going to get in, you wear that wetsuit. Maybe you even use some kind of thermal clothing as well. Now, life jacket, that kind of goes without saying. They always want people to wear life jackets out there if you're near a body of water. In 2020, a record 34 people died from drowning in Colorado, and so far this year, there have been 13 drownings. That puts us on track for another record year.
Most of our drownings are someone who's not wearing a life jacket or started in a life jacket that was not sized appropriately. And you can be the world's strongest swimmer, and if you get sucked into certain parts of this river, you are not going to be able to just swim your way out of it.
A couple of other recommendations from officials include maybe putting a whistle on that life jacket if you're going to be in places like Clear Creek. If you're in trouble, you can always use that whistle. Maybe even bringing a knife along with you. If you get caught in some netting, you also have easy access to be able to cut that off. And of course, Brian, like you mentioned, it is going to be a warm weekend, and who better to run us through how warm it's going to be than Stacy.
Well, good morning. It is going to be nice and warm where you want to cool off in those waterways. Our tubing forecast for today, 80s by 9 a.m. and 90s by 2 p.m. with partly cloudy skies. So it's going to be warm not only today, but the entire weekend. We're going to be talking more about just how hot it's going to be coming up in a few minutes.
And right now, the drive looks pretty nice, including here on I-70, where all lanes are open after overnight construction. They were holding traffic for a moment and then let it all release. And so now we're looking at wide open driving on east and westbound I-70 out to the east side of town.
Once a Bronco, always a Bronco. The new report hinting Peyton Manning might come back to his old team, but in a different role.
How would you like to do the cat-cow pose with some actual cats? A Denver yoga class is back and looking to give felines a home.